Hello everyone, my name is Jeik, and welcome back to another Fire Emblem Cipher video. Today I'll be taking a look at the series 17 cards that were announced on the Fire Emblem Cipher stream reveal, as well as the daily trickle of information that's been coming on the official Cipher Twitter. However, I'm not the most experienced Cipher player, as I'm fairly new to the game, so I asked two experts to join me today as we go over the cards. My first guest, as you can see on the bottom, is the Eldigan Master himself, and dubbed the Cipher Dad over on the English Fire Emblem Cipher Discord. Links in the description below. It's BraveSaintCipher.
Hello everyone.
And my other guest is the guy I personally bother whenever I have questions about the game, and the guy that makes sure my Cipher videos don't suck. It's my amateur tournament coach, Zelfie.
How's it going, guys? Zelfie here.
So, yeah, these are my two guests, and before we dive into the cards, I want to kind of, quickly go over some of the cards that we will not be going over. We will not be going over reprints, so for instance, like the Marth and Lucina Colorless cards that got new art, but their effects are kind of the same, so we won't really be going over those. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So starting right off, we have a Cipher OC, Emma, who I think this is her first colorless card.
This is her second colorless card, although her first promoted one.
Correct. She had a cost 1 way back in like set 11 or 10.
All right.
I think.
So what this card does is, if this unit is in the front row, they can attack non-MC enemies regardless of range, and then once per turn, you can tap 3 other higher unit cards to untap Emma, and then you can do that again if you tap 2 other allies. What do you guys think of Emma?
Go ahead,
Go ahead first? Okay.
No, go ahead.
So, in general, being colorless is usually a downfall of a card because it makes it... You'd think it'd make it more splashable, but it actually restricts some of its synergies. But with how flower-based decks are turning out recently, I think being colorless is actually a huge boon, because it doesn't matter what colors you're running, this is always an option.
And I want to add to that. So the negative first with this would be that it is cost 5. So it's going to have difficulty being played apart from 2 of the cards that we'll see later on in the set reveals, that being Marth and Chrom, but we'll get to them. The interesting thing about this is it has a much different cost than Beowulf, but performs some similar roles that Beowulf does. And the fact that it can just tap 1 unit with its second skill and restand. And if you're running things like Quan or
Sigurd,
then Emma will just feast off of decks like that, as she'll be able to regularly hit 100 and potentially be able to attack 3 times a turn for cheap. For essentially 2 bonds, you can 2 bonds and tapping 3 allies, you can attack several times a turn with 1 unit.
Yeah, it's super nice, and just the way that she is currently built to be, she can find a place in these decks. It's just whether or not the cost will prohibit her from seeing play in these fire-based decks.
And being able to touch enemies in the back row without having to use Sigurd's skill to move an enemy is going to be a huge boon to seeing this card in play.
So do you think like tapping allies as opposed to flipping bonds is better or worse? Because like you said earlier, you mentioned Beowulf, who has to flip bonds in order to close out games.
So in this particular instance, I think tapping allies is going to be, with flyer decks especially, tapping allies is going to be a lot cheaper because you're going to be deploying cost 2 or lower units with Sigurd's skill. So you're going to have basically fodder units on the field for Emma to be funneled power. Whereas Beowulf is benefited by just by his own constituent nature. He just gains buff inherently.
Yeah. And with Sigurd, those 1/1 tokens are always placed into the backline just because of how her skill works.
Correct.
So some of those weaker units that you might not want in the front line, like Har or S1, for example, Emma can actually make use of them with her 3rd skill. Which she kind of rides off Sigurd's success in order to be viable. but it's perfectly fine since she provides a distinct niche and being able to capitalize on those tokens and hit backline.
Right, and a cheap way to gain access to that second skill is actually deploying Maria 4. And because that Maria drops down to a cost 2 unit with a flyer on the board, but she still is a cost 4 unit when on the board. So she can satisfy the requirement of the second skill, and then Sigurd can drop 2 others to meet the requirement of the third skill.
Ooh, I didn't even consider that one.
The next card that we have on the list is another Cipher OC, Shade. Her effects read, once per turn, tap, flip 3 bonds, choose 2 cards in your retreat area with 2 different deployment costs. Your opponent chooses one of them and you deploy it and send the other to Boundless. And her second skill is this unit gains plus 10 attack if opponent has 4 or less cards in hand. So what do you guys think of Shade?
She definitely is very, very unique in her skills.
Yes.
That's a good starting place, I guess. Being able to choose 2 units from the retreat and deploy one or the other is something that hasn't really been toyed around with. Mostly not giving your opponent like options during your turn outside of dodging.
So
it's very interesting.
I don't like this card because it is the perfect Veronica trap. You tap yourself and flip 3 bonds, and your opponent chooses the unit you deploy, only for that other unit you deployed to then become tapped by Veronica's skill.
That is the way of life.
Yeah.
But
So-
if we are trying to take this card into its, peak performance level, I heard that there's a suggestion to run this with a new Elise.
Yes,
card that hasn't
exactly.
been
Yeah,
seen too much.
that's just what I was going to say.
And then with Elise, you deploy a unit from the Boundless. Now figuring out the whole deck structure would be really weird because you need Shade on the field, you need Ellis on the field, and then you have to have like 2 probably red cards that you want to actually use. And keep in mind that they have to be different costs, so you can't slam like May 4/3 and then another good 4-drop. They have to be different, and that might be difficult to find because, like, speaking right now, I can't even think of a different card that you'd want to deploy besides May.
So what you could do is pick something like TT6 or Eliwood 5, and and then whatever they send to the Boundless area or whatever they pick to deploy, you can actually have good setup for cards we're going to talk about later, like I said, Marth and Chrom, or just you can basically bait your deployment with other units out of this too. So that's the upside I see to it.
Yeah. But otherwise, a strange card. I don't think she's going to see a lot of play. She's just too cumbersome and too expensive.
Yeah, 5 cost is just such a hard hit because there's so many. That's such a key turn.
All right, so the next card we have is going to be our first red card. It's Alm, who's, I think this is a new one, or it is a new 1-drop. And it's his skills read, once per turn, tap another ally. This unit gains plus 10 attack until the end of the turn, and he also comes with tandem emblem for red cards. What do you guys think of Alm?
Well, if you're trying to run him as like an MC 1-drop or MC like the starting card, I feel like he's just completely inferior to the old Alm. And that's just because the old Alm is plus 10 when you deploy a red unit. It's like, you don't even have to go through the process of tapping them and you get an extra attack.
Correct. Because Saber has the same skill, but he gains plus 20 off of it, which of course is balanced by the 20 support that Alm has. But yeah. I'd rather get the Fate emblem or a Hero emblem off of Alm and the buff to attack just on my cost 1. It's just easier to proc and cheaper.
Yeah.
So, the 1 cost version of Alm is kind of right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think of the 4/3 version? Alm, determined to be strong. His effects read Royal Sword, Once per turn, tap one other ally. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains plus 20 attack. And then his second skill, Call for Deliverance. Flip 1. When this unit's attack destroys an enemy, you may pay the cost, and if you do, choose one card with a deployment cost of 1 from your retreat area and deploy. Ooh, reading's hard.
So Zelfie, you're kind of the Alm guy, so what do you think of this?
So, alright. This is pretty interesting. I think the intended solution to this card is that, you're supposed to deploy the cost 1 tokens from your retreat and tap those Royal Sword. And then later on you can turn this cost 1 tokens into ways to overclass your units. So you deploy Delthea or Celica on the field and then abuse the fact that you have those already set out on the board. But I don't think that this does anything too specific for Ulm, because the other Ulm has a decent bridge where you can pull the enemies, and it also just rides off the success of Celica 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I don't think leaving a 1/1 token on board is particularly good when you're playing red, because your opponent is going to know to address it in order to make sure that they are getting overclassed the next turn. They're generally very keen on it. If you want to talk about anything else besides mono red, that's just slightly difficult. Maybe in an aggro deck where you could just sort of try to support more 1-drop cards, what are some good Sword Boy cost ones?
Probably. Well, you'll be Shannon Ulster, Sayri, Ares.
Yeah.
Ares, they would be the general ones, but I know I've seen people running Obero 1 with this to generate a draw engine off of it.
Yeah. I'm just not too sure about inserting white into Ulm. It just seems a bit roundabout when you could just be playing a Boro.
Yeah.
And your other skill isn't helping you support a Boro's game plan.
Right. Yeah. It's just it's an okay card. I don't think it'll see a lot of play, in my opinion.
Yeah, basically.
Alright, we can't talk about Ulm without talking about Celica, who also gets a new 1-cost version. Celica, the Last Princess of Sophia. Her skills read Magic Imbued Sword, which is flip 1. When this unit attacks and destroys a non-lord enemy, you may pay the cost, and if you do, draw 1 card. And then she also comes with Miracle Emblem. What do you guys think of the 1-cost Celica?
Well, if you're playing Celica MC, this might actually be better than the newest Celica, which gains plus 30 when attacking MC, but it's a mage.
Plus 10.
Plus 10. I'm dumb. So, you gain plus someone hitting MC, which is relevant for, most MCs. And then you can still hit backline, which is alright. And then this is just fine. You can draw a card off of her if you're not too strapped for, bonds, depending on how your deck is built. This is probably a fine cost one.
This would be... So, it has Miracle Emblem, which makes it pretty good already. And then the ability to A, draw a card, and B, potentially use this with Dark Emblems to lower your opponent's hand and maybe draw a card off of it. It basically becomes Hue 2, but it's in red, so it automatically becomes good.
Yeah.
And it's Celica, so she works pretty well especially with Ulm rising in power lately. Having good Celica cards to help you through the early game in case you don't get your 3/2 bridge. This could be a solid card.
Yeah.
And it's Celica, and I like Celica cards because she looks like my wife, so they're fun to collect.
Aw.
Celica also gets a promoted version, but it's colorless this time. So Celica, determined to save the world. Her first skill reads Salvatic. Is that how you say it? Salvatic Ragnarok. Ugh, reading's hard. But once per turn, you can, flip 1. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains a plus 40 attack. This skill is only usable if this unit is in the front line. And her second skill, Sorcery of Love. Once per turn, flip 1. You can draw 1 card. This skill is only usable if this unit has 100 attack or higher. What do you think?
So, hitting 100 is actually a decent benchmark now, which is kind of surprising. Before, like, the regular benchmark, I'd say, is like hitting base 70. And then recently more pushed to base 80. And now there's even merit to hitting 100 attack because you got Angry Ike, you got Deke, you got the Armors. You got a couple other decks that are also pushing that limit up there to how high base attack can be. Yeah. And being not red kind of sucks because this could be decent as filler red, especially when you have May to boost your like red tone power level. But maybe this card can see use in like a sideboard format where you can check this against MCs that you're just gonna have a hard time hitting.
So the first thing is that jump out to me. The first skill, it's the exact same thing as Robin's, except for the frontline requirement, but you don't need a specific bond color to flip. So that, she has that boon over him, and she gets to draw a card off of that, whereas Robin only gets to draw a card if they evade or crit. So you're almost guaranteed a card draw.
Yeah.
When playing this card. So and the fact that she gets to 100 very easily brings automatic synergy with Hector 4 for wave clear.
Yeah.
And the fact that her final promo is colorless, the bonds that you play is literally irrelevant.
Yeah. Which is why I said that she might be good as a splash card, because she's not tied to any packages or color.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this card is, for a colorless card, I think this is one of the top ones we've seen.
So do you think there's like, with the colorless cards that were revealed so far, do you think there could potentially be a colorless deck on the rise soon?
I think that not yet. We need a good MC that supports the full colorless idea. And the only cards that we've had revealed are like Marth and Chrom from like set 11, but those rewards for running all colorless decks are pretty weak, so I don't think that they're considerable.
Right.
The next card on our list is the newest Jeorge card, which reads, well, I don't really know what the skill name is because I got it off of the the guys off the Discord who did the Imager album. Basically, what the skill says or does is, until the end of the turn, non-MC enemy units with a deployment cost of 4 or less can't dodge this unit's attack. And it also has anti-flyers and bullseye emblem.
So, why do you ever want to flip one for unavoidable? Unavoidable. It's like, you don't want to flip one for +10, you don't want to flip one for very much, unless if it's card draw. But like, yeah, there isn't too much to say about this.
The only place I would see use in this is in like going up against a mid-range deck or a more control deck that runs a lot of evades for its core units, and so you can snipe one of those enemies off the board at least for a turn.
Yeah, potentially.
With a crit. I mean, obviously it would require a flip one and a cost one, so you go -2 to get it, but that's like the only positive to this card. And the fact that Jeorge finally gets a cost 1, so he is MCable. Finally.
Yeah.
So
whatever that merits, right?
Yes, whatever that merits. Someone will make that deck. It'll probably be me at some point just to see what I can do with it, but you know.
So I think the general consensus is that Jeorge 1 is but let's talk about the promoted version, the 4/3 Jeorge. So this Jeorge gets once per turn, flip 2 bonds. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains +30 attack, and non-MCs can't dodge this unit's attack. And then the second skill is, when this unit destroys a tome enemy, you may add a Jeorge card from your retreat to your hand. He also has anti-flyers.
Okay, look. It hates May, apparently. That's the most you can write for this card. You hate May, you hate Nino, you hate Lolina. What other like 4 or 5 drop mages are there? You just hate tomes, and then you play this card to spite them.
Magic is nothing to Jeorge.
And then you get another Jeorge, so you can kill more mages.
So this this art, like I said, this art's absolutely banging. I love this card, the design of it, except for its skills. So so flipping 2 to gain unavoidable plus 30 as well against non-MC units. I mean, he's already an archer, so he can't hit anything right in front of him because reasons.
Yep.
And when I feel like they could have made this card so much better by making him flip 3 to gain unavoidable against everybody, because like if he's in the front row, he's not going to be able to hit the MC anyway. So they might as well just give him that option to be able to hit that. And to make use of his second skill, you have to clear a tome unit, and they have to have another thing on the board besides their main character in most cases.
Yeah.
So his second skill is very conditional, or both his skills require your opponent to have something besides their MC on the board generally to use.
Yeah. And the really, really sad thing about the first skill is that he only reaches 90, so he doesn't even hit like Zelgius.
Right. Right.
Which is like, wow, if you're gonna get a plus 30 buff, you might as well do something with it. No.
You still have to crit with it, though.
Yeah.
That's hard for some people.
Flip 2 unavoidable with a plus 30 buff that you can't even use.
And like, not to mention, like, if they want, if you are playing against a tome heavy deck, then they can just put them on the front line, and you have to waste a turn to move back.
Right.
This
poor
card's
Jeorge.
sad to see.
So I think we can all agree, banging art.
Yep. 5-star art, 1-star design.
Starting with the first blue card, it's the main lord of Awakening, Chrom, who comes with the skill that reads, whenever you deploy another blue ally, this card gets plus 10 attack until the end of the turn, and he also has Tandem Emblem for blue characters. So I'll throw it over to you guys. What do you think of this Chrom?
I don't know what the other Chrom ones are. I can't remember them off the top of my head, so I'm just gonna say that. Okay. You want to go ahead then?
Yeah. So this card's an exact mirror of Alm 1 from set 11, but except for the support skill. But the other Chrom ones gain 10 attack when attacking the enemy main character. So I like the other cost one as MC, because that one comes with the same support skill, but gains the buff without needing to deploy anything to do it. So if you happen just to have a blank turn on turns 1 and 2, he can still hit MC with it. Although this one does help you cover non-MC units, but I'd rather have the other one still as Lord.
If you wanted to bring back Sword Boys, this is a perfect time, I think.
Yeah. My heart's not ready for that.
Yeah. He's just alright.
Yeah.
The next card on our list is a Tokyo Mirage Session character. It's Eleonora, who reads, if you have an allied Virion, this unit can attack enemies regardless of range. She also has anti-flyers, bullseye emblem, and a fan service art.
That's the best way of putting it.
Yep.
So I'm pretty hyped for this card because I love TMS decks. I think they're just super fun because they're usually super like tempo and deploy focused. So I'm just hyped that we get to see more of these types of cards. Now, in terms of a cost one, this is so much better. The old cost one was you could discard a Virion to get infinite range. Or no, it's you can attack enemies in the back line, so it doesn't even help you in the front line. This, if you just have a Mirage Virion out, you just get 1 to 2 range, which is super good. Actually, it's 1 to 3 range, technically.
It's infinite range, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is good because it's a bow unit. You can make a Lord very easily, and its quality will rise or fall based on how good the Virion Mirage is. That surely will be released.
Yeah.
In this set.
And if she gets a promotion.
Yeah, and if they follow pattern too by giving the Mirage an additional 4/3 promotion as well, like they gave Chrom and Tsubasa Mirages.
Yeah. So this is a good starting MC, but we just kind of have to see where if IS will tease us or not.
Yeah.
So, okay, I guess follow-up question then, like, what do you think would be kind of the ideal promotion for Eleonora then?
Well, I think she still needs to have that continuous skill, because 1-2 range with Virion out is perfectly understandable. And it allows her to actually deal stuff in front line. And then outside of that, maybe like you can give all your TMS allies unavoidable, or just some type of bonus effect to combo with like all the other TMS cards that have been revealed recently.
What I would like for this card's promotion to get a class change skill or something, giving at least herself a permanent unlimited range.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And as long as she has that, she'll become much more viable as MC, because her old 4-3 was pretty decent, because she gained the same range, and enemy non-MC units could not evade bow unit attacks. So yeah. She had a decent spread of skills. I hope they continue that to actually give us a bow lord in Cipher.
Also, since bows don't work against flyers in Tokyo Mirage sessions, maybe you can get rid of anti-flyers and give her a second skill. Yeah. Maybe.
What would be cool is if they started giving archers, maybe instead of Wingbane, for instance, is like being able to move while untapped.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Nice repositioning skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've talked about this cost one for too long.
So besides Chrom and the random Tokyo Mirage session character in blue, we're gonna wrap around back to Awakening characters, starting with this 4-3 Sully, Gallant Crimson Bull, whose skills read Russian Crimson Bull. You can move this unit for 1 bond flip. You can do this once per turn. And her second skill, I'm right here. During your turn, other allies in the same area as this unit gain +10 attack. So, what do you guys think of Sully?
So, in a sense, this is kind of like, not in a sense, but you get the same +10 buff that Eliwood gives you on your turn, which is decent for a 4-drop. If you're trying to play an aggressive style deck, this is actually pretty alright, because it's just a universal +10 buff. And if you absolutely need to, you can move it to backline and give like your archers or tomes +10 buff as well. It's not bad per se. It's just kind of vanilla.
It provides the same buffs that Eliwood, Sigurd, and Zelfie all provide, with none of their requirements. So in that sense, it's an okay card.
Yeah.
So it helps the aggro tax file decks out a lot.
And of course, we can't talk about Sully without talking about her counterpart, Stahl, Compassionate Viridian Panther. His skills read Embracing Viridian Panther. Like Sully, you can once per turn flip a bond and move this unit. And his second skill, I've Got You. During your opponent's turn, other allies in the same area as this unit gain +10 attack. So it's literally the same thing, I just realized.
Yeah, no, it's the opposite.
Oh, it's the opposite. Yeah.
Because Stahl is the enemy turn, which enemy phase buffs are actually more important. Mm-hmm. Because you can overkill with your attack on your turn, and it's not going to matter. But on enemy turn, having that extra +10 might just save you.
Correct. I don't know of any other skills besides 4-3 Black Corrin that give defensive buffs remaining specifically on the opponent's turn.
Yeah. Ironically enough, the first skill that this unit has is not as useful as Sully, because while Sully gets to take advantage of her skills on her turn, moving your unit isn't really going to change anything unless if you got like moved last turn or something.
Mm-hmm.
But what this card does kind of remind me of, it might fit in is like it kind of reminds me of Lucina. And Lucina, well, the one from Series 4, I think.
Yeah.
It gives you +10 if you are a class change unit and she is on the front line. So that just makes your stuff more bulkier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Stahl might make a deck where you have these pretty decent class changed units and you're just able to keep them safe with your +10 enemy phase buff.
Where he'd probably thrive is with a lot of flyers.
Yeah, that too. Because then you have like a net value of like +40.
Yeah.
Moving right along, we're going to be talking about the black and white cards next. And we can't really talk about Nor and Hoshido without everyone's favorite lord.
Oh boy.
So I was gonna write some angry shit in my comment section, but
I don't get it.
But it's oh, god damn it.
I got him.
I don't think it helps that my profile or like the picture being showcased as is Corrin.
Yeah.
Despite me like not even caring about the characters, I just like, yeah, the deck is cool. I love it.
Yeah, basically.
So someone's gonna assume the wrong thing about me, and it's gonna be funny.
But okay, god damn it, dude! I completely lost composure with it. All right,
we did it.
Ooh. All right, serious mode. Serious mode. All right.
I got my dad joke in there. I'm good.
But yeah, this Corrin, she has an effect where it's like if you have 2 other white allies, this unit gains +10 attack, and she also comes with Tandem Emblem for her white bordered allies. So what do you guys think?
So, the main issue is that all of like female Corrin's cards are primarily black. So while this is decent for an MC, you're just stuck with a bad promotion that's not even in rotation right now, so it's kind of hard seeing this being played.
The positive to it is that her old cost ones required you to have specific Norian or a Hoshidan face-up bonds to gain the attack buff, and now you can run card draw like Tinny 3/2 and gain advantage while still getting your attack buff while on the field. And this buff does persist while on the defensive turn as well. So in that aspect, it's good. So.
And then the added benefit for a lot of the Hoshido cards are that your siblings, the one cost, or most of the one costs are backline characters, or at least half of them are in Takumi and Sakura. So I don't think it's that hard to get the +10 attack onto female Corrin by turn 2.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, like the female Corrin counterpart, we get a black version of Corrin, male, and he's exactly like female Corrin, except that he's male and he requires 2 black allies to get +10 attack. What do you guys think of this Corrin?
Sort of the same issue as the female Corrin, and that he's the raw, like he has the raw synergies for this. Well, it's possible for Momoi to actually run black cards. Most of the black cards you're running are like your 3/2 Dragonblood siblings, so like Camilla and Leo, and possibly Elise. So you're probably not going to proc this effect. And you already have a pretty strong one, Momoi, in contesting, which is the recent cost one from set 13? Or is it 14? It's one of the two. And you just
Momoi is from 14.
And you gain +10 when you have a Hoshidan sibling out. If they make a good black Momoi promotion, then, you know, sort of like the same deal as Femui, it will probably see play because you'll probably be running mostly black in order to do whatever the deck wants to do, but I don't know.
The effectiveness of these as lords will be very dependent on the other black and white cards that are produced within the set. And Cipher is a very The MC is the main character. The Lord's always the one on the board, but the other units in the deck are far more important generally than the Lord. So whatever other black and white units they're able to produce will determine the value of these overall. So at the moment, black, outside of female Corrin and her main cards, black doesn't have a lot of usefulness in the low cost spectrum.
So I guess it's safe to say, like, with both the Corrin cards, they potentially might not be good this set, but as more cards come out, we could maybe see them get better
sure.
with time.
Yeah.
They're most likely a groundwork for later sets.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
The next card that we're going to be talking about is Beruka. God, I think this card's awful. We were just talking about it. This card's awful. But its effect reads, tap, discard one card from your hand, destroy a non-main character enemy with 30 or less attack, and it also has Flyer Emblem.
So, we've already talked about this, but there's literally another Beruka with the same exact thing, except it kills itself instead of discarding card, which is actually way more helpful, because you would rather have whatever card is in your hand than have that Beruka last on the field. And this Beruka is more likely only going to kill one cost one on, like, turn one. Maybe, if you're lucky. It's just... Yeah.
If there's one thing we can always expect, is that there is a reason we call black the bad color in Cipher.
It's because it gets stuff like this.
Yeah. Yep.
The next card we're going to be talking about is Kaze's daughter, Midori, who comes with a skill that reads, once per turn, flip 2 bonds, add a non-Midori cost 1 card from your retreat to your hand. And her second skill, which reads, once per turn, tap another dagger ally. This unit gains plus 20 attack until the end of the turn. So, what do you guys think?
So, what's cool about this is that you get to actually use your cost 1 daggers that you get to deploy off the Ninja Emblem, which, ironically, is like... It looks like it's going to be gone soon because of the new Kaze one, but we'll talk about that soon. You can actually make use of your cost 1 ninjas that you're deploying off your support skills. It's pretty nice. She's a 3-drop, if that matters anything. There's a couple of ninjas that promote on turn 2, so this is a bad turn 3 play at all. And then it's literally a heal for her first skill, but it's not that great. It's a little bit flexible, but, you know.
First of all, I did not know this was Kaze's daughter, so I learned something new today. But with my limited experience of the ninja decks, this card in particular is going to have really good synergy with Kaze coming forward, and helping to get that crit and hand cycling going. Because Kaze, as far as I know, doesn't use a lot of bonds, and ninja decks as a whole don't use a lot of bonds, especially like a Sugi.
Yep.
So besides Obero draw engine, but this creates a way to keep your hand cycling going and getting the crit for the cost 1 crit to draw 2 off of from Kagero and Kaze that you might need.
Yeah.
Yeah. As the unluckiest Asugi player to exist, I'm actually relatively excited about this Midori. The Kaze that's upcoming, that we're going to be talking about upcoming soon, is going to really benefit a lot from getting back your 1-cost cards. And now your 1-cost cards in your hand aren't completely dead weight all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another exciting thing about Midori and the new Kaze.
Yeah.
Right.
And the most notable thing about her might actually be that heal, because she's not something that you insert into your deck and you feel bad about it because she's just there for her skill and doesn't have any like synergies. She actually does have a synergy deck. You know, having this added like skill that you don't normally have access to is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that you don't have to tap to use it is very, very beneficial. And it doesn't limit it to like just your MC, or it doesn't limit it to just units you have on the field. It can be any cost 1.
Yeah.
continuing on, speaking of shurikens and Midori, it's the newest Kaze, who has a skill that reads, if this card is attacking in the backline, it gains plus 10 attack, and also comes with cover emblem.
So, as an MC, this is pretty alright. You get plus 10, which isn't awful, especially compared to the other two. Well, the one from set 3 is actually alright, because you gain plus 20 until the end of the turn. But if you're just trying to clear stuff on the backline for, like, the first 2 or 3 turns, it's alright. As, like, an actual ninja in decks that aren't Kaze MC, you don't have ninja emblems, so that's all I'm gonna say about it.
This is a direct replacement to the Kaze one that we lost in rotation. I'm having trouble. It gains the buff if it's attacking from the backline or attacking an enemy in the backline.
It's attacking.
Yeah.
If this card is attacking in the backline.
So it has to be in the backline to gain the buff.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think it'll be difficult to gain the buff itself on the cost 1, but having the cover emblem allows you to move your other ninjas after maybe they clear something. So there's a little bit of benefit there. It's interesting to see them move the support emblem, the cover emblem, over to ninjas. This skill that used to be typical of archers for a while, seeing as the archer's support emblem has now become bullseye emblem. So I'm assuming that ninjas will probably start to take over the cover emblem side of the game.
It feels like they're, in general, trying to nerf a lot of the supports. They nerfed, like, dragon emblems, archer emblems, and now ninja emblems, too.
Yep.
And, like, I guess, as a main MC, like, I was kind of talking to Lin Opal about it over on a different Discord. But kind of the struggle that I think Kaze will face without a little bit of support is like if you're going first, right, you're basically if you're going first, you're basically always, or you're basically almost going to lose an orb every time because he has a base 30 attack. And then turn 2, you're not even able to attack with him because you have to move him to the back if you want the buff. And then, but then by that point, turn 3, you have the promotion into the Kaze that we're going to be talking about shortly. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a bit of a predicament, and I think this is just bound to happen. I think you just kind of have to you're ninja deck, so your promotions are still kind of low cost. You could, like, for example, you can develop like Saiza 1 or Kagura 1 in the backline, and they get their promotion that turn immediately after. So what you trade in squishiness, you trade in aggression.
Well, the positive is if you lose orbs early, you can use them to, you can use your cards in hand to clear board with, either through crits, or you might not even have to, because let's say you do take an orb, you'll be up around 7 or 8 cards at the start of your turn 2. That's plenty of fuel to bond, deploy something, and help clear the board with, because as we'll see on the next card, you'll be able to get that advantage back later on in the game. So it's not as detrimental. Losing the orbs early aren't as detrimental as it is for some other MCs.
Yeah, I guess because he does have the Ninja Emblem package, which is aggressive in nature. Just losing that orb, I guess it doesn't really matter too much in the big picture of things. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the promoted version of Kaze, Kaze Faithful Verdancy. His skills read White Ninja Scroll, which is once per turn. When an ally's critical hit destroys an enemy, you get to draw a card. And his second skill, Refreshing Windstorm Dance. If an ally inflicts a critical hit, you may send a card with a deployment cost of 1 from your hand to the retreat area, instead of a card with the same unit name as that ally. So,
okay, yeah, this is a fun card to talk about, and this is probably gonna be a fun card to play. What you do is it's kind of a hybrid of Saizo and Kagero, two of like Ninja's main staples. So when you crit, you get to draw a card, which is part of Kagero, and then you can crit with any card, which is kind of like Saizo. But the thing with the second skill is that second skill applies to everybody, which is insane. And yeah,
Go ahead, Zelfie.
yeah. And White Ninja Scroll is it's weaker than Kagero, but it's still a nice benefit. It's like, yeah, you get this free draw once per turn. You know, maybe that's all you need sometimes, but
So this this card generates a lot of pressure because you have two potential. You have this and another card to generate value out of, and Kagero is very difficult to remove. So you have very reliable card draw. You'll have a lot of copies of Kaze as well, as some of his cards are still in standard or in the rotation format. But also, this card has very interesting synergy with cards like Athena, as when she crits, she sends orbs to the retreat area instead of sending them to your opponent's hand, and if that lands, you get either a +1 or a +2 or a +3 even if you get a hero emblem, and you're able to just break 2 of those orbs with a crit. So you'll be able to retreat 2 of their orbs and draw a card off of it.
ooh,
Oh wow, I didn't even. Ooh,
yeah.
that's spicy.
I think this card is amazing. It's definitely worthy of its SR title.
Yeah, it is a very well-designed card at the moment that fits into its own archetype and can be slotted into other archetypes too. I think it's very well made.
Yeah. Now I'm just waiting for the turn where you have like 5 ninjas on board and you crit with every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
With Kagero out too, keep in mind.
And
Because
go ahead, sorry.
yeah. And one of the important things about Kagero is that Kagero gains unkillable in backline when you have a frontline shuriken or something like that. So like if Kaze just sits on the front line, that Kagero is never giant, so that's just infinite value, literally.
Yeah, and so Kaze and Kagero together create the same problem for decks that Ephraim and Eirika create, in the sense that they're just both difficult to remove, except Kagero does it a little bit better, as she has card draw and she's not dependent on Ephraim having orbs or vice versa.
Yeah.
The next card we're going to be talking about is Camilla, something Dragon Princess. But instead of the normal black borders that she comes with, this time she is a colorless card. And her skill, the Beauty's Coaxing, at the end of this unit's attack, choose one other ally and move them. It's a once per turn kind of thing. And she also comes with Flyer Emblem as a attack support. What do you guys think of Camilla?
Doesn't she have the same exact skill as Emma one, the colorless one? I think, yeah. When she attacks, she moves an ally unit, I think. So I think it's literally an exact clone, except it's on Camilla. And that card never saw play, so I'm just gonna say that this card probably won't see play.
Yeah, I like that there is no cost restriction on the first skill.
Yeah.
And because it can proc with units that buff on movement, like Tsubasa or Varion,
Yeah.
or things like that. But I don't think there would be any reason to play this one over the Camilla from set 15
Yeah.
if you're gonna play it as MC. But it does give you more evade since some of her cards rotated out from set 2.
Yeah, that's definitely worth considering.
Continuing forward, we're going to be talking about the promoted version of Camilla, who goes back to her black border. Camilla, Norse Scorching Mania. Her skills read, Might You Die Together, which is a once per turn, send one card from your hand to the retreat area. Which reads, When an enemy is destroyed, you may pay the cost, and if you do, choose one non-lord enemy and destroy them. Her second skill, the Mad Princess's Instinct, another once per turn skill. When this unit is attacking or being attacked, until the end of this combat, this unit gains plus 20 attack. So, there's a lot. What do you guys think of the 5/4 Camilla?
Zelfie, you're muted still if you're trying to say something.
Alright. Oops, I'm sorry. So this card is very, very interesting. It actually plays into what black wants to do, and that's like being a very heavy board control color, or just a color that tries to limit your opponent resources. So I find this card very, very well designed for black. Now you just need to come to the conclusion of where does this fit in. Obviously, the immediate response is destruction skills, so like Femwe. But Femwe doesn't really need more board clear. Maybe if it's like turn 8 and they're still not dead, but it's kind of odd. I'd like to see more cards with destruction skills in black, because then this card becomes super effective. Another thing worth mentioning is that you can promote this on top of Dragonblood Camilla. Dragonblood Camilla and Dragonblood Leo are two cards that are often seen together, because you could drop Leo and then use Camilla's special skill, which deploys her when you deploy a cost 3 or higher black unit. And then you could use that Camilla that's in the backline to promote into this. And so you can actually, generate something off that token.
So I think this card is actually really good. The fact that you need any kind of destruction to proc her first skill is incredibly good. And my first thought in this card is actually Leo MC is where this card will be most useful, as you can use King Leo to wipe all the tomes on the board and board lock their and keep them from deploying any more tomes, and then you can destroy any other, generally what would be a Naui 4 or any other big unit that King Leo can't squash, and pop that with this. So then you lock them from playing any tomes in response, and you can potentially keep this big 90 base board on the board for the next turn. And it's a flyer support. It has only one other card has a stat block like this in Cipher 2 with 70-30 with a 100 total point spread.
Yeah.
And that's Longku. So having a card with just this sheer stats and the destruction skill, I think coupled with Leo MC and running dark emblems with things like Odin, you have potential for ore break, you have board lock, you can fit May in there as well, and you can drop this card in there. So you have a lot of good options for board lock, destruction, and swing turns.
Yeah.
This card actually makes it a bit more splashable in colors outside of black, because destruction isn't something that's unique to black. As we talked about, there's May, obviously, and then there's also stuff like Eleonora, and this just also triggers when an enemy is destroyed. You don't have to use the skill. A skill is just like a guaranteed way of proccing this.
Right. Any destruction at all, this card is good.
Yeah. Now, I just don't know why this card isn't a maid, because she's on cleanup duty.
Oh my god.
Joke delivered. Good job, Zelfie. You're on your way to becoming a dad.
I was like, what is he talking about? And then he said that. It's like, oh my god.
I was gonna make a cleanup thing. I was gonna say how she cleans up earlier. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect.
oh my god. Moving on to Tellius characters next, we have, of course, everyone's favorite lord, Ike, new mercenary commander. His skill reads, Heroic Mercenary Commander. Once per turn, flip 2. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains plus 20 attack. And he also comes with Tandem Emblem for colorless cards. What do you guys think of the new Ike?
So, I joke about flip 1, gain plus 10 on 1 cost being bad. This is double that. It's flip 2, become like base 60, which is like puke.
I see no scenario where this card would be played.
Alright, moving past that monstrosity of cost 1 Ike. This one is a Fire Emblem Heroes callback, I think. Ike, Brave Mercenary, who's again another colorless Ike. and his skills, Unrefined Great Axe. If this unit is attacking your opponent's lord, this unit gains plus 10 attack. And his second skill, Bold Command. When this unit's attack ends, you may choose as many allies in the backline as you wish and move them. What do you guys think?
So this card is way too closely designed to the other Irvin Ike from like set 13 or something like that. And the other one gains like plus 20 and is a cost 4 instead, in green, obviously. And then his second skill is when he hits an enemy, he pulls all the backline. So, like, this is just, sure, you get to deploy him for a cost lower, but, like, you just have worse effects all around. And you barely hit base 72, which is, like,
So, they needed to reprint a 3-2 cost for Ike because he did lose a very important one. This one does not gain the same great skill set that the old 3-2 had. I'm glad they did not make his first skill battling. I'm glad they made it attacking because Ike is already hard enough. Ike will self-support a lot, but he is hard to hit, so you need to be able to hit him early. And since he has an early promo, that he's already a good aggro counter, but he needs to have some weakness early still to make the win condition against him more achievable. So the fact that they made this just attacking was a good design aspect. He gains Alencia 4 skill from set 3, and that he can move your allies after he attacks. It's just cheaper.
And we can't talk about the Telia series without talking about the other lord, the Priestess of Dawn herself, Micaiah, Dawn Calling Maiden, who comes with the skill Glimpse into the Future, which is a once per turn. Look at the topmost card of your deck. You may send that card to the retreat area. And her second skill, Magic of Hope, which is another once per turn skill, except that this time you have to send one card from your hand to the retreat area, and that's draw one card. What do you guys think of Micaiah?
So, right off the bat, the second skill is Mage Emblem, except you don't know what you're getting in return before you discard. At least with Mage Emblem, you can discard the card that you drew and then keep the rest of your cards in your hand. This is sort of like, it's a gamble that's just unnecessary and unhelpful most of the time. And the first skill is like, yeah, you can use that to know what you're drawing as well. Or you can like check your supports, which is alright in green decks because greens tend to run more copies of themselves than any other deck. So it's just like, it's just boring.
So, the benefit of the second skill is that you can add cards to your retreat area that you're going to be growthing with later. But Sanaki 1 does the same thing, and you can get the ball rolling on that much earlier. And Sanaki 1 has Miracle Emblem, whereas this does not have a support skill because it's a promoted unit and not purple. And then the first skill is beneficial for Ashura MC at least, so that you can at least control what you're going to be destroying.
Oh my.
Yeah, I just think she's boring too.
I do think the design was a little lackluster in this, mostly because Micaiah didn't lose anything coming out of rotation.
It's impossible to talk about Micaiah without talking about the faithful and silent guardian that sits almost next to her at all times. It's Sothe, Family Seeking Youth. This one cost Sothe comes with the skill Young Thief, which is tap, flip 2, your opponent chooses one card from their own hand and sends it to the retreat area. And sorry, I was reading that, I was like, wow, this is awful. And then his support skill, Provision Emblem, flip 1, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, you may pay the cost, and if you do, draw 1 card. So, what do you guys think?
So, obviously this stuff is bad. You were laughing at it already. I think the most interesting takeaway from this card, though, is the new support emblem. And that support emblem is actually pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue is that it's attached to 10 supports, and more likely will be attached to more 10 supports. But it's really not a bad skill.
Yeah, the good part about his first skill is that it's not limited to the opponent's card hand. So even if they have one card in hand, you can still drop them down to 0 with this later on in the game as just a 1-drop. And then the support skill, like Zelfie said, is pretty good. It gets you back to the Dark Emblem threshold of 5 cards in hand just for flipping 1. So it's really good value. The downside is that he doesn't have a sword affinity, so he won't be running in a sword engine deck. But for aggressive decks like Kaze and whatnot, and ninja decks, he is a shuriken, and you're going to be critting for the most part with Kaze anyway, so you could still get a good hit off in the early turns and flip this and just get the card back that you crit with early on.
And then moving right along, it's the promoted version of Sothe, the 4/3 Sothe, Micaiah's protector. Oh my god, I just said Sothe like 4 times in a row there. But his skills are resisting tyranny. Once per turn, your opponent reveals the topmost card of their deck. If that card's deployment cost is 3 or higher, until the end of the turn, all allies get +10 attack. And then his second skill, the Dawn Brigade's tactic. When this unit attack destroys an enemy, until the end of the turn, all allies may attack an enemy regardless of range. So, what do you guys think of Sothe?
I think the second skill is kind of cool. It's like, yeah, you get to destroy an enemy, and then you can give all your other allies just infinite range. It's just neat because you could take advantage of like every card that's on the field in a different way.
And it really opens up the board for ranged units like Kaze again, who are going to have units always on the back line, and it gives them more options to board clear with. And again, support values aren't as important in Kaze's decks as they are in others, as he'll almost always be able to touch everything with a crit anyway and drawing cards off of it. The first skill is going to be support if you're running a deck like Matthew or Jafar, where you're going to be able to check their top card of the deck, and then it provides that ambient buff similar to Micaiah's. So it's nice that they added a flavor in there of buffing all allies, like Micaiah 5/3 with Shine, giving them almost a similar skill. And I'm curious what their design pattern is going to be moving forward, because as we talked about before doing this, how Micaiah, Sothe, and Ashnard are the only 4/3 cost green cards in legal play right now. All the others have the master classes of like 5/3 or 6/4 or 7/5 or 4/2. Just those offset promotion turns. So I'm curious what their design pattern is going to be moving forward with this, but it's an interesting card.
Yeah.
The next cards we're going to be talking about are from the Lugu's tribe, starting with Naesala, Cold-Winged Raven King. He has 2 skills, Black Wings in the Night, which is flip 1. When you deploy this unit, you may pay the cost, and if you do, choose 1 non-lord enemy and move them. The second skill, Unfeeling Commerce, send 1 card from your hand to the retreat area. When this unit attacks and destroys an enemy, you may pay the cost, and if you do, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and sends it to the retreat area. So, what do you guys think of Naesala?
So, when it comes to Fly Lagoos, there's, well, specifically like 2 cost or lower Fly Lagoos, there's instantly 2 things that come to mind, and that's, first of all, the obvious Lagoos decks, and the second part is the Sigurd decks. And I'm not too sure if this fills out a niche in, well, let me just talk about this. The first skill is like kind of useless in Sigurd, because Sigurd already has that ability, so it's just redundant. And I'm not sure if the second skill is an important part of like either decks. Like, their decks are mostly based on their own board states and their own aggression, that I don't think the discard is gonna play too much of an impact, especially when it's not random.
So this card has a home in decks like Gawain as a cheap deployment and pull option. It can't pull the MC, but it can. It does have board control that he needs. But the main deck where I would see something like this played in would be Ogma, where you can play him for cheap on turn 5 onwards, or deployed with Sigurd for cheap, and he hits pretty hard and has a great discard effect as well.
And we can't talk about Lagoo's characters without talking about basically the most popular of them all, Tibarn, Hot-Winged Hawk King. Oh, tongue twister there. But he also comes with 2 skills, which is Rage against the Beork. If this unit is in the front line, this unit gains plus 20 attack, and at level 2, or level up 2, comes into effect. Oh, so he only gains plus 20 attack at level up 2. Okay.
Correct.
Wow. I should have
2 cards in the soul, and he's at base 60.
Yep, base 60. And then his second skill, Friendship with Serenus. If you have 1 or more other Fang ally, this unit gains plus 10 attack. All right.
So,
All
the
right.
absolutely insane part of this card is that if you want to talk about like cost 1 cards that can reach high power levels, there's a couple that come to mind. There's like Ubello. Ubello can reach 70 if he gets a mage support. Wallheart is at base 60. But this card like kind of tops them all. I don't know if there's a single 1-drop in the game that could get a higher cost than this. You
Not
just
a higher. Rajayan can match it.
Okay. Yeah. So you need, if you're level 2, which is pretty alright, you're just deploying another Tibarn on top of this, or maybe growthing with like Leif or Jill.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have another Fate ally. You're 70 plus whatever other support you're getting.
Right.
And these aren't on your turn. These are just universal, which just makes it just so much better.
Right, because you would start probably with the set 9, cost 1 Tibarn, just in case you don't have another one to level up into right away, so that on your second bond you can be base 60. But this one you can drop on the first turn and become base 60, and just say, "Yeah, try and hit me, dude."
Yeah. Geez.
And then you just become you're a great anti-aggro tool right off the bat. And then since Tibarn's level ups promoted versions rotated out, I'm curious to see if they're going to finally give him the cards that this guy's always deserved.
Right.
In this set.
Please.
Yeah, please.
Also, just like as a side note, this is my favorite art in Cipher, period. Like, I cannot think of a single card that tops this. In my opinion,
it is really good.
It's ironic that he's called the Hot-Winged Hawk King, it's fitting because he is very hot-headed. But in the image, it shows him in a very like
calm and collected.
Yeah, calm and collected, which is not how you would see Tibarn normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we're gonna be slowly talking about the Yggdrasil characters, starting with Sigurd, noble with a knight's heart, who has a skill, chivalrous soul. If this unit is attacking your opponent's lord, this unit gains plus 10 attack, and he comes with tandem emblem for yellow cards. What do you guys think of Sigurd?
As a starting MC, this is strictly better. In like flat terms of a card on board, the other Sigurd had no skills.
Yeah.
So literally anything is a buff from that. I think Fate Emblem is a better support skill. Plus, you have the bond skill for a bit more flexibility. But you'd still run this as like the cost 1 for a Sigurd MC deck.
Yeah, I would. This would be for Sigurd. This would definitely be better. The one thing in the design pattern with IS that I don't understand is, especially with Sigurd, for some reason, is his lower cost cards are never horse affinity, and I don't think there's ever a moment in Genealogy where he's not mounted. And I've never understood that unless they're going with earlier in his life or something when he's training, but. It's just I always think of everything with yellow needing to be horse affinity for the most part.
Yeah,
To match
Not
the
too far
synergy
off
they
with
have.
that.
FE4 and horse emblem, right? Yeah, I do.
Unless you're Arden, but who
Yeah,
cares
unless
about
you're
Arden?
Arden.
Poor Arden.
For Arden, yeah. But I do think this is more, they're trying to depict the younger Sigurd before
Mhm.
he went out and got into a bunch of fights.
Yeah.
Because his
Yeah.
other one cost is like with him, Eldigan, and Quan.
Right.
This one also looks like he's training. So I do, and also I do think they want to stay away from horse. Or I don't want to say they want to stay away from horse one costs, because that's not entirely true. But I think they just want to keep a lot of the main lords from the series,
Right.
like their one cost to just be depicted as footlocked, or at least that's my guess at least.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
Speaking of Yggdrasil main lords, and with Thracia finally getting a good English patch, it's a good time to talk about Leif. Leif, Prince as a Lance Knight. I just noticed he's on a horse, as I said. Like, I don't think they want.
I know.
You got him.
But yeah, this is a one-cost Leif. He comes with two skills: command of the Lance Rider.
Yep.
Yeah. But basically what that is once per turn you can flip one, choose one ally in the back line and move them, and he also comes with attack emblem, which I think this is one of the few Lance cards with attack emblem, if I'm correct. Maybe I'm just...
The Lancers that are horse mounted and not Pegasi, they have attack emblem.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Makes
then like
sense.
Nefany and Aboro, that's probably about it. Maybe Shiro.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot more than I thought. But yeah, what do you guys think of this one cost Leif?
If you're tired of your Elder game getting put in backline, use this. But I don't know, I think it's more here just for the flavor. It's like, yeah, he's like taking out the Quan's, sort of place. But as like a standalone card, I don't think he's that great. Moving backline allies is just not something that's necessarily needed.
Mhm.
And you could get this on a 30 support with you actually tap the unit and that they're 30 base, but like whatever.
With our current sample size, I don't think this card fits into most decks at the moment. But we'll see if cards get more skills based off of movement, or get buffs or something based off of moving during your turn.
Yeah.
But at the moment, just doesn't have a niche right now to fill.
Up next, we have Ayra, Izakian Princess of Swords, who comes with two skills: Wandering Princess of Swords, flip one. Until the end of the turn, this unit's attack cannot be evaded by non-lord enemies with a deployment cost of 2 or lower. And she also comes with attack emblem. It's also worth mentioning that this Ayra is colorless. What do you guys think of Ayra?
Remember when we made fun of Jeorge? Yeah, the same thing applies here.
Yeah,
You just don't want to flip for unavoidable.
Yeah. Her cost 1 from set 6 is still probably better because the untapping to gain 20 is going to be more pertinent. And it's free for the most part. And yeah, it has a color. So it actually becomes a relevant bond later. But I'd still play the set 6 cost 1 over this.
Yeah. More Iris though for the old Ayra.
Yeah, it does contribute to the Ayra principle as a whole. Just Ayra getting cards is an inherent buff to her.
Speaking of Ayra getting buffs, this is the promoted version of the colorless Ayra. Ayra Almighty Astra. She again has two skills: Flashing Astra, which is once per turn, flip 2. When this unit attacks and destroys an enemy, you may pay the cost, and if you do, untap this unit. And her second skill, Wrathful Princess of Swords. Once per turn, send one sword from your hand to the retreat area and choose one Ayra from your retreat area and add it to your hand.
So I don't think the second skill is bad. I think the second skill is actually pretty alright. It sort of reminds me of Nino, except Nino obviously stacks the cards, so you get the benefits of the support and all that. But the second skill, for all intents and purposes, isn't bad. Maybe if you miss the proper Ayra 4-3, you go into this, and then you can grab it afterwards. The first skill is just like so many comparisons to old Ayra here, but it's just like old Ayra, except you flip 2 instead of flipping an Ayra to use your skill.
Mm-hmm.
This one does work, and well, I think the old one is like if you miss, you get that untap, but you know, it's all right for a secondary bridge secondary promotion.
Yeah, the sub 6-1 outclasses this one in utility in most ways. The untap is a lot cheaper for set 6, and the board clear is far more useful too than healing the one copy of Ayra. The benefit to this one is like the only benefit to it would be that it does not have a symbol, so that it can be deployed by units like Marth and Chrom that we'll see later, and has the potential to gain extra attacks on hit. So,
yeah.
Up next, we have Deirdre, Priestess of the Spirit Forest, who comes with two skills. Spellbinding Staff. If this unit is in combat with a tome, this unit gains plus 10 attack. And a support skill, Holy Blood Emblem. If you have as many as or fewer bond cards than your opponent, you may choose one card from your hand and play it in the bond area. So, what do you guys think?
I think that this card is alright. I mean, you get plus 10 against Tome, which is decent. If you're running Deirdre MC, this is probably the optimal cost. The other cost one is vanilla as an MC.
Mm-hmm.
Holy Blood Emblem is interesting, but I don't think it ever pans out.
So yeah,
just from experience.
Yeah, Holy Blood Emblem is not great because it's the nerfed Manakite ramp emblem. But if you're going to MC Deirdre, this is the card you're going to run. If you're going to run Deirdre in any other deck, you're going to run the other Deirdre from set 6.
Yeah.
Deirdre also comes with a promoted version this set, Deirdre, Vessel of Divine Blood, who has two skills. Pulse of Light and Darkness. Once per turn, flip one, reveal the topmost card of your deck, and play it in your bond area. If the revealed card is not yellow, then you must play it face down in your bond area instead. And then her second skill, Eris to Naga's Blood. Tap, destroy all non-Lord Dragonstone enemies. If this skill destroys one or more enemy, you may choose one face down bond card and flip it face up. Alright, throwing it over to you guys.
Alright, so this first skill is kind of what Yellow really wanted, because Yellow has always been the bond color, but it's too afraid to actually do stuff with their bonds. This is like the first step to actually like fully exploring Yellow's capabilities, and it's a very good start too. This is just instant ramp. You flip one bond, and then you get a card into your bond area. Then you just get to keep it unflipped. And if you get Celica 5-4, which unflips a bond when you add it to the bond area, this is just like, wow, you get to unflip that bond you just used, and it's just free ramp at that point. And then the second skill is very, very polarizing in blue matchups, and arguably purple too. You just get to destroy all their dragons, and then you get to unflip all your bonds too. So that's like, wow, I guess you can't play dragons around this anymore.
So yeah, this card is why I was saying Camilla might be really good, because you run something like this in Leo MC, and you can just instantly start controlling their entire board between knocking out their Dragonstone users and knocking out their mages, and you get ramp out of this. So even if you don't get the yellow card from the first skill, you just got another bond for one bond flip. So you're going to be having your swing turns much faster than your opponent will, more often than not. And you have destruction built into it. And you can get the bond ramp without actually tapping.
Yeah.
So
this also... go ahead, sorry.
But yeah, between the art and both the skills and the deployment cost, this is a very strong card coming into the set, potentially making yellow a splash-worthy color across other decks.
Yeah, and especially with the next card that we're going to showcase, the Arvis. The Arvis is pretty strong alongside this too, because Arvis is just like another destruction tool, which helps yellow branch out more into like the splash area.
My dream with this card is that it has synergy with both Sigurd and Arvis somehow. That Sigurd's skills play into this as well.
The final card in the Yggdrasil, card review that we're going to be doing for now is Arvis, Darkness Shrouding Flame. He has 3 skills. Flesh Searing Idealism, which is once per turn, choose one of your orbs, reveal it, and play it in the bond area. Mayra's Holy Blood. Once per turn, flip one, draw 1 card. This skill is only usable if you have 6 or more bond cards. And I always mess up saying this Crusader's name, but Fjalar's. I'm cringing. Yeah, whatever that Crusader's name is, Burning Blood. Once per turn, flip one, choose 1 non-lord enemy and destroy them. This skill is only usable if you have 8 or more bond cards. So there's a lot.
Yeah. So as I was talking about before, let's say you get Deirdre on turn 4, like after you promote into like your yellow 4/3 as a MC or something. You can ramp, and then the next turn you'll have 6 bonds, so you get a card draw after deploying Arvis. And if he stays on the board, which it's sort of unlikely, but it can happen, you can ramp again, and then you're at 8 bonds, and then you get flip 1, destroy something. And that, like, flip 1, destroy something is just so versatile. It's so... You don't need anything besides the Arvis out to use this, pretty much. Where at least with, like, May, or, yeah, like with May, you need at least another May in your hand. So I think this card is just super solid. This is what yellow needs. It gives it just general utility that it lacked before.
So the first skill is incredibly useful in a few different kinds of decks. In your aggro matchup, a lot of people are going to try and starve you out of your orbs so that you can't access those cards later on. It does give you ramp to get to your big bodies a little bit quicker. Since he hits sweet spots on 6 and 8 bonds, with his second skill, you can draw a card, which gives you fuel, whenever new yellow cards get released, I always think of them in terms of Eldigan. But you can start accessing this draw skill on turn 5, and then you can draw a card off of it and then deploy something with your Cross Knights. And then even if you don't want to deploy something with Cross Knights, you can then get to your 8 bond on turn 6 and start destroying stuff with Arvis as well. And you can even get to your 8 bonds opens up a lot of good play options for yellow, because that's when Sigurd hits full speed. 6 bonds is when Leif hits full speed. That 6 to 8 range is the Beowulf turn too, so you can get there with fewer cards. And putting your orbs into the bond area, especially with MCs like Eldigan, that just becomes instant resource that you can then deploy that turn. So you don't even have to worry about getting to your hand, which it can then get discarded from. It just goes straight to your orbs or your bonds, where it's going to be, I mean, besides Ishtar, it's going to be safe, and you can just deploy it right away anyway.
Yeah. And with both Deirdre and Arvis, with all this bond ramp, the obvious card to draw attention to, like you said, was like Beowulf. And Beowulf is just this huge, super good finisher. So having these RAM tools may support more Beowulf play. I think Beowulf is a super good card.
It is.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Four attacks for 1 unit. Sign me up.
Yeah,
Yep.
as someone who's seen the light of Beowulf and Eldigan, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Next up, we have the Alib characters, starting with a fan favorite, Roy, Noble of Binding Flame, who comes with 2 skills, Battle for Tomorrow. When this unit attacks and destroys an enemy, you may choose one non-lord enemy in the backline and move them. And he also comes with Tandem Emblem for colorless, for other colorless cards. Yeah, what are your opinions on Roy?
So, as a standalone card without taking other Roys into consideration, Battle for Tomorrow is really weak in terms of pull, just because it's hard to hit with a base 40. By the time that you need pull, of course. And in context of other Roys, the Roy 1, I forget what set it's from, but it has the skill when you hit an enemy. Oh, set 9? Okay. Set 9 Roy has the skill when you hit an enemy, you get a Fate Emblem, which is really, really good because you get to turn like those dragons that you have in your hand into a card that you get put on top of your deck, and then with whatever cost 1 you have, you just get to ramp with that dragon emblem right afterwards. So it's really hard to compete, especially when I think Roy 1 is one of the best cost 1s in the game.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, Zelfie touched all the major talking points with this. Especially since Roy got a very workable bridge promotion, a 3-2 promotion in the last set. There's not going to be very many things you're going to want to pull on the first few turns besides like a Canas, so they can't promote it on turn 3. But you're going to promote into the bridge anyway, and the bridge, I believe, does have range built into it for a bond flip, so you can go after it anyway. So I'd still play the set 9 cost 1 just to get the ramp going to get to your 4-3 and 5-4 a turn quicker.
And then this is personally one of my more favorite Alib lords. It's Eliwood, Blazing Nobleman. He comes with 2 skills, Sparring Session, tap, flip 1, choose one other ally with a deployment cost of 1. Until the end of the turn, that ally gains plus 20 attack. And he also comes with Tandem Emblem for purple cards. So, what do you guys think?
So this combines 2 of my least favorite skills, for 1 cost that is, into 1. And that is tapping yourself to give an ally plus 10, and then flipping a ball to give your ally plus 10.
What are you talking about? This is Jeorge 1 support.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Man.
Obviously a 5-star card.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, the other Eliwood is better. I don't remember what skills it has, but it's better.
The other cost 1 has movement for the moving enemies.
Oh yeah, that's so much better.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Up next, we have Brunya, Faithful Lady Mage, I guess one of the more fan favorites when it comes to the Wyvern Generals. She has 2 skills, Finvolatar, the Blizzard Tome. Once per turn, send 1 tome from your hand to the retreat area. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains plus 20 attack, and she also comes with Magic Emblem. So yeah, I'll throw it over to you guys.
This just follows the trend of gaining attack for a cost that you don't really want to pay. And that's about the best way to summarize this card is that the effect is there, you're not going to use it. The only time you're going to see this play is if you need more Brunya dodges or if you're playing like Brunya MC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because early on you're not going to want the card just for a 20 attack, especially because if you're playing against a mage, you'll most likely hit them. If you're playing against a melee unit, then you're going to be running a lot of... Generally, if you're playing a mage MC, you're going to run a lot of copies of the main character, even though there's only 2 cards of this. But you're going to have a lower chance of hitting anyway, because you might self. So you're going to take a minus one way or another with this card. So need support, but depending on what other cards come out with Zephiel, perhaps this card could see play.
And her promoted version, Brunya, Proud and Lovely General, also comes with 2 skills. Wyvern General's Lightning. If this unit is attacking your opponent's lord, this unit gains plus 10 attack. And her second skill, Liege Devoted Magic. Once per turn, when your opponent's lord is destroyed, if you have an allied Zelfie, draw 1 card. I think this is a complete upgrade over the 1-cost one, but still kind of situational. What do you guys think?
So this card fits directly into one deck, and that is Zelfie MC. But the previous Zelfie is pretty bad. It's Dark Emblem for flip 2. Which I don't think I need to say, but that's just not okay. But this does tell me that we are probably getting a Zelfie soon with the whole legendary item skills from set 16 that we had. We're still missing 4 cards, and one of those cards could be Zelfie because of his sword that I don't want to pronounce.
Exicus?
Yeah. You said that so perfectly.
Exax.
Yeah, exact.
Yeah. But if that MC is good, then this card will, just probably be fit into it. Actually, I think this card is probably just gonna be fit into it regardless if Zelfie is a good MC or not.
Yep. Because that's the only way you get value out of her. Yeah,
pretty much. You're not running this for a 4-drop 70 beater.
No problem. So Zelfie lacks a few major problems in that he A is 10 support, and B that he has only 2 cards of himself at the moment. Well, it'll change once he gets his legendary item skill card coming out to complete the panorama that they're making. But the cool thing about Zelfie is that none of his skills are once per turn skills. So with cards like Azura or Lalem, you could potentially find some good mileage with this card and Zelfie or Ninian.
The next card we have is Artur, who makes his first debut in Fire Emblem Cipher, Saint of Light. He has 2 skills, Deep Devotion, once per turn, flip 1 bond. Until the end of the turn, this unit gains plus 10 attack, and he also comes with Miracle Emblem.
Now, unfortunately for his debut, he's not that impressive or shining.
Correct.
Deep Devotion is just it's a basic skill. I've already talked about how these skills are rather lackluster. And the most appealing part of him is Miracle Emblem, but then comes to the question, why aren't you running better Miracle Emblems?
It is interesting that he's a Miracle Emblem on a Tome unit and not on a Staff unit.
Yeah.
So he does have synergy with mage decks at least, and provides a non-crit function.
Yeah.
The next card we have is Eirika, Kind Princess in Confrontation. She has 2 skills, Determined Drawn Sword. When this unit attacks and destroys an enemy, then until the end of the opponent's next turn, this unit gains plus 10 attack, and she also comes with Tandem Emblem for purple cards.
So pretty much no matter what, this Eirika was always going to be an upgrade as an MC card over the old Eirika, because this one has a skill and the other one doesn't for all intents and purposes. As an MC starter, yeah, this one is just better. She's pretty decent, gets plus 10 against MC. Not too relevant, but still nice to have. If you're running her as a support card and Ephraim, or just I think just in general, the other Eirika is just better. The support skills offer much more.
Yeah, Eirika's old cost 1 card is very good, as it gives you option for card draw when destroying the enemy main character. And Tandem Emblem is good as a support for purple, as it lets you get a flyer without having to put a flyer in your deck. And the defensive buff on this card is relevant, like Zelfie said, but mostly really as MC. But this is definitely an MC focused card, so it's gonna change the Eirika deck just a little.
Yep.
Yeah. I just want to point out that all the cards that have had pretty much really, really bad starting MCs, the ones that don't have any skills, have gotten the best ones out of all these 1 costs so far.
Yeah, there's none of that flip 1 gain.
Yeah.
Negligible damage.
Legit cards.
Yeah.
So I guess the general consensus for this Eirika is, as a main MC, better, but in Ephraim, you don't put her in.
In Ephraim, you would run the other one with sibling emblem.
I actually think you only run one of these, and you run like 4 of the other one, because the other one has such a good support.
Yeah, it is. I would probably try to find a way to put. I would probably take out Gale in my Ephraim deck and throw this one in there instead.
And her promoted version, Eirika, Royal Heiress to the Sacred Twin, comes with 3 different skills. Her first skill, Sieglin's Guidance. It's flip 1. When this unit attacks and destroys an enemy, you may pay the cost, and if you do, add your supporting card to your hand or deploy it. Her second skill, Enlightening and Exercising Brilliance. Once per turn, flip 1. Choose one of either your own or your opponent's non-lord units and move them. And her third skill, Attack and Defense Support, Miracle of the Sacred Twin. Flip 1, you may pay the cost, and if you do, until the end of combat, your units in combat gains plus 10 attack. Alright, there's a lot, so...
This is a good card. Go ahead, Zelfie. Oh, Zelfie, you're muted.
I think this card is really good.
It's good. It's
yeah,
good.
you just get to deploy stuff for free. For 1 bond.
Yep.
It's not free, but like 1 bond is so cheap to deploy literally anything.
And you know what you're supporting, and you can add
Just
it
for
to your
stack.
hand if you want.
Yeah, like if you just get something that's on board, unlike Alphonse, you just get to deploy it. You don't win.
And you can control whether you want their support to be a flyer or not.
Yeah, right? This is
It's
insane.
so good. This is a good MC card, and it's like it has all the toolboxy skills to be good, and you can move your own units.
Yeah, this card is going to be absolutely insane in Marth and Chrom.
Well, I'm gonna play this as MC and then use the old Ephraim alongside it, so that
Yeah.
you can always have this 80 just squasher on your side of the field, and you can deploy other stuff with it.
Yeah, this is just insane.
The 3 Houses characters also make their debut in Series 17, starting with the main character, Byleth. His title was too long, but it was like new teacher of the school academy or something, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But he comes with 2 skills, blah, 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 right? Best title ever. Teacher's Disposition. During your turn, if this unit's supporting card is brown, this unit gains plus 10 attack. And he also comes with Hero Emblem. So,
this is Al, except you changed Fate Emblem for Hero Emblem.
Yep.
I can't say too much. This is a fine cost one, but we're not going to see any black this set until next set. These are just promos, so there's nothing else to say really.
And since they're, my question was if they were going to make Byleth similar to like Kieran as an avatar character, and make his stats kind of crummy, but I'm glad that they're making him like his own unique character.
Yeah, he's like Chris or Robin.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is a good cost one to start with.
up next we have, I think, the only reason why people will go into the Black Eagles faction. It's Edelgard. Again, her title was too long, so I shortened it, but it's House Leader of the Black Eagles. She has 2 skills, the Empire's Influence, which is once per turn, flip 1, choose 1 enemy with a deployment cost of 1 in the backline and move them, and she also comes with Tandem Emblem for brown characters. So, what do you guys think?
She can pull Kanos. That's it.
Yep, it's flip 1, pull 1, and decent support value at least. So it's gonna it all. Fodlan has almost no cards coming out at the moment, so it's all gonna depend on what else they get.
Up next we have Dimitri, House Leader of the Blue Lions. He also comes with 2 skills, the Kingdom's Pride. Once per turn, flip 1 until the end of the turn. This unit gains plus 10 attack, and he also comes with Tandem Emblem for brown cards.
He's like every other bad flip 1 card we discussed.
Yep, and for those reasons, I don't think we need to discuss him any further. Alright, on
Correct.
to the next card. The next card we have is Claude from Fodland. His title is also House Leader of the Golden Deers. He comes with 3 different skills. The Alliance is Bond, tap, send 1 card from your hand to the retreat area to draw 1 card. And like other archers, he comes with anti-flyers, and he comes with tandem emblem, like the other 3 house leaders. What do you guys think?
He's Nocky 1, except he can attack backline.
And the other noteworthy thing is that he is an boost above the 20 support line. So he actually hits for 30 with his support value, unlike archers nowadays.
Yeah.
So, I guess this is kind of like our first impression of 3 houses characters.
Mm-hmm.
What so far, what do you think of these cards? And what kind of direction would you like to see the 3 houses characters go in?
I think it's really unfair to judge them now, since we literally only have cost 1 tokens. They're so generic. They're literally just, the copy and pasted skills that we've seen literally in like cards right now. But think about this of like 16 sets of just cards with the same skills. I have no idea what their gimmick is gonna be.
Right. I'm assuming there will be formation-based skills that come off it. I hope that they play in to the incorporating, like having X units in the rear guard and having X units in the front line to really just create some busted skills for these characters.
Ooh, that would actually be interesting, because that is kind of like the one big thing that they're marketing about 3 houses is the formations, whatever. So in Cipher, that would be, I think, really interesting and could really open up a lot of fun options for deck building.
My hope with Byleth is that he's able to use his role as teacher to grant permanent buffs to units through his instruction.
Ooh, that would, I'd be down with that, actually.
What I originally suspected, but I don't think it's gonna be true right now, was that this was going to actually be the gimmick of Brown would be it would be symbol based. So there'd be a Black Eagle symbol, there'd be a Blue Lion symbol and all that, and then they would.
Quite a bit.
I was hoping that the set would be so there'd be a symbol for all 3 classes, or houses, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would have a Black Eagles symbol and a Blue Lions symbol, and they'd interact like that.
Right.
But since the cards right now don't have that, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what their focus will be. It'll probably be the formations, or maybe their quote unquote holy bloods.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope the rumors are true. This game would be really good if the rumors are true.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And coming this set, we have a bunch of unique and interesting mechanics that encourage you to play with a lot of different colors. Starting with Elise, Innocent Loving Sister. She comes with 2 different skills. Royal Sister's Cheer, which is tap, flip 1, choose 1 non-Elise card with the same symbol as your lord from your retreat area and add it into your hand. And her second skill, Eternal Familial Love. During your turn, your lord gets plus 10 attack. So, what do you guys think?
The plus 10 buff too. It's just a neat bonus that you get. The main draw is obviously the first skill, which is really, really cheap if we're considering healing as a whole. Healing is usually tap, flip 2, and that's the basic guideline for it. But this is really cheap. The only limitation is that it has to be the same symbol as your main character. But that's still workaroundable if you're running a multicolor deck, and perfectly fine if you're running a monocolor deck.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this card, as I'd rather flip 2 bonds and heal whatever I wanted without tapping. But the plus 10 buff, like Zelfie said, is pretty good, but it's in a difficult color to play around that isn't Corrin.
Yeah.
So it'll be. I'm curious if they'll give us anything else to encourage us to use this card with. I
actually think, contrary to Brave Saint, I actually think this card is pretty good. mostly because we have a lack of we just have a lack of healers that perform like small tasks. For example, I've been using like Priscilla, and Priscilla is still like a very weak card. She's just like a flip to heal 1 that can also attack. But like, we have a lacking in variety of ways to heal. So I think this is a fine card on its own.
And we can't have one sister without the other, so let's talk about Sakura, pure-hearted, loving sister, who has Regal Sister's Cheer this time, which is tap, flip 2 bonds with the same symbol as your lord face down, and draw 2 cards, and she also comes with the Eternal Familial Love. What do you guys think?
If you're looking for a white draw engine that's not a Boro, this is like the second best. Well, maybe not the second, but you still have you have the 4/3 Sakura that can draw 3 cards and buff like cost 5s and higher, which is actually kind of important in this set because a lot of the cards that you want to be deploying off like these rainbow-esque synergies are actually cost 5s and higher. So that buff is both an enemy phase and a player phase buff, which is, you know, more prominent than this. If you're looking for a lower cost, maybe this works. I actually think Gaboro does outwin this, despite me thinking that she's not that great of a splash card.
Yeah,
since you have to dictate your deck around all white bonds.
Yeah, it's nice having the draw engine, and it does work well with male Corrin, especially if you're not able to get to his 4/3 in time, as he'll be base 60 with this card on the field. But if you're going to use it for card draw, you're better off just playing Oboro, and you can put another big body on the board and draw cards.
The second to last card, and probably a really interesting card for a lot of players, is going to be Marth, Hero King of Love and Courage. He comes with 2 skills. The Advance of All Heroes, once per turn, flip 1. From your hand, choose 1 card which does not share a symbol with an ally and deploy it. And then his second skill, Onward to a New Era, once per turn. When this unit attacks and destroys your opponent's lord, draw 1 card. So, I know you guys have a lot to say, so I'll leave it up to you guys.
So, like, starting off, it's important to dictate this card, or like to dictate the differences between this card and the next card we're going to be talking about. And the biggest difference is not from their second skill, which we'll also see later, but from their base color, because their base colors are going to offer like different base utility. And so Marth has native access to May, which is pretty solid. She's just like this nice card that you can fit into pretty much anything. You're not going to be able to deploy May turn 4 if you're promoted to this and you didn't hit like a Tiki. But, you know, you're still going to have that card there. And outside of that, there's just so many things you can do with this card. There is little to no restriction on this card at all, which is what makes it so appealing. There's the Eirika we talked about before, being like the biggest example that I can think of from the cards that we talked about so far. You can also deploy stuff like the new Camilla, if you're into that. Any of the colorless cards as well. I'm not too sure how like having a colorless card on the field works, since technically they have no symbol, but I think you can deploy like as many colorless cards if you want. And then you can just run a bunch of one-offs of like a different bunch of colors. You run like Now E4s if you need to. You can run there's just so many cards to talk about. It's hard to imagine all the possibilities here.
Yeah, you go through the cards and search cost 5 and just find whatever busted one you want to run.
Yeah, you look at any card before that's high cost. It's like, yeah, I want to use this now.
Like, and the main thing with cards like this is that this card and the one we're going to look at next are going to change the way that splash and deck building is considered in Cipher, because you can just run four copies of any other color in your deck and you'll be able to deploy it regardless of bond restriction and color restriction.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to include a lot more text that otherwise you were not able to include into your deck solely because of color locking yourself and running into risks of bond shortage. And as far as between the two of them, I would probably run Marth more so as not MC because it takes so much longer to get to the 5/4 when you are red. So I think Marth has a bit more mileage as a non-MC unit.
Yeah. Not to mention that the cards available in red are just generally better than ones in blue.
Right.
Which is why I said it was important to pick out the differences between the two.
Mm-hmm.
They're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were alluding to, this Chrom Exalt of Justice and Bonds basically shares the same thing with Marth, except it has different names. The Advance of All Heroes, once per turn, flip one from your hand, choose one card which does not share a symbol with any ally and deploy it. And his second skill, I guess, is different. With Hopes Inherited, this unit gains +10 attack per other ally with a deployment cost of 5 or higher. So, once again, I'll throw it over to you guys.
So, like we said before, the concept is similar, and that the main appeal of this card is that you get to deploy literally anything that you want. And it's wild. This is better off as an MC if we're talking about its potential to get off faster, and that is because blue has a lot of dragon emblems. They have the most available dragon emblems in the game, being at 16. So you can run 16 dragon emblems, ramp up super fast, and then just start winning the game your raw power. And he's also better as an MC because he's stickier due to his second skill being on both turns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think the funny thought is deploying Eliwood in the backline, and then you just get like +90, or you're a base, not +90, you're a base 90 in the front line. That just continues to deploy more stuff.
Right. So Chrom is incredibly strong, in my opinion, as an MC, because you can run things like Azura, you can run Eliwood, you can run the other Marth to keep your hand refilled. There's so many good deployment options for Chrom, and you only need to run him and the blue Manicheets as the only blue in your deck. And then you can just fill in anything else as his deployment options, really.
Yeah.
You can make it Marth, you can make it May, you can make it Tiki 6, you can make it Azura, you can make it Corrin, you can make it female Corrin. You have a lot, you have Eirika, you have options to go from with this. And I think this could be a set defining MC coming out of set 17.
So, I guess before this, right, with the exception of a few decks, we've been kind of locked to one color or two colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only exception to that rule would be like, or the one that I can think of off the top of my head is Quan. And I think there's one, Deke, I think, also ran 3 different colors.
Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally. But even then, like, seeing 3 colors was super rare, and seeing them perform is also super rare. So do you think with the addition of, like, Chrom and Marth, we'll see more, like, 3-color decks, or maybe even the Unicorn 4-color deck?
So I think we'll see more 3-color decks that do not run Overclass.
Yes. A lot of like previous 3-color decks before ran like Overclass, like they just run like a 8 Delphia and then 8 Jenny as like late game finishers. And then they'd also try to slot in like Naui and Tiki, and then they'd be, you know, whatever MC, whatever color they were before. So like Fenry, or what's another example? Tough question.
Say that again.
Like what other MCs would run those two and be a different color? Xander.
Yeah, I mean you could run any MC, and then 8 Jenny, 8 Delphia, Naui Tiki, and then That was the overclass package.
And your control shell.
Right. And 12 to 16 evades.
So yeah.
This will be. It's a tempo. Like the game is shifting towards a much quicker state, and it seems like they're trying to push a quicker gameplay. But it'll be very curious for me to see how people build their decks and how much they emphasize the early to mid game or try to just go for late game power with the Marth and Chrom.
So I guess the general consensus between both the Marth and Chrom is they're insane.
Yeah.
They have legitimately insane skills.
They're bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah. So discard is definitely what they will struggle with. Heavy discard, as their skills do rely on deploying from hand. But it'll be interesting to see how people play around this.
With that being said, we've completed all the cards that have been revealed at this moment in time. By the time this video goes up, there might be a few more cards that go up, but at this moment in time, we have completed. We have talked about every card that has been revealed so far. If you want to find more stuff on each of these guys' channel, you guys can go to their YouTube. What can they find on your channel?
On my channel, I upload like Cipher deck lists and some occasional battles of commentary. Outside of Cipher content, I may upload some Fire Emblem stuff and definitely some Hearthstone. So if you guys like some other card games, you might find some pleasure there.
And what about you, Brave Saint?
I do mostly animated quick matches where you'll be able to see gameplay of Cipher sped up a little, but also using Fire Emblem Heroes effects and editing effects to make the battles a little more interesting and to introduce players to the game and how the games work. And I also do tournament matches and commentary to help players learn the game and get them acquainted with some of the functions of the game and understanding this game we've all come to love.
So again, if you guys just have randomly stumbled upon this video and you're like, hey, Fire Emblem Cipher's pretty cool, then I'm going to be linking the Fire Emblem Cipher Discord in the description below. Everyone there is super willing to help you out if you want to learn the game. You can also go ahead and check out my series that I did. It has a little bit of errors, so you're probably better off joining the Discord. Thank you everyone for watching, and hope to see you guys next time.